I'm Mike B from the Who Dares Rolls podcast, and we are at the Creativity Hub. That's a mouthful, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm joined by Rory, who you may know of Rory Stories Cubes, although
I always think, like, from The Simpsons, it's like, you might know me from such hits
you might know me as
Voyages, Actions.
So yes, Rory from Rory Stories Cubes, huge hit. You're here with your Kickstarter that's running at the moment.
Yes.
Untold.
So, Untold Adventures Awaits. We kind of joke and say, like, Rory Story Cubes were the expansions we released before we released the base game.
Excellent.
So Untold is a game that we created basically for families to sit down and have kind of all the fun and excitement of being the heroes in their own TV show or their own TV series.
Nice. I'm sold already.
Yeah. The way it plays out, it's for 1 to 4 players.
Yep.
And they play it over about 60 minutes. What we've done is kind of distilled what happens in the story arc of a traditional TV show.
Okay.
And then by combining that with Rory Story Cubes, it allows you to go on infinite adventures into infinite worlds.
And did you say you could use your other cubes as well, not just the ones in the game?
Yes, so the game comes with the original set of Rory Story Cubes, but you can customize your stories, so introduce clues to tell more crime stories.
Throw in Batman.
Well, funny you mention that. This is on Kickstarter, and we've hit the stretch goal where Batman is now included with everybody's pledge.
Excellent.
So the way it plays out is over 5 scenes.
Yes.
Okay, so you start by deciding the ground rules for the adventure.
Okay.
So, like, what's the setting? What time period? Is there magic? Is there superpowers? What makes this world different? And what's the tone? So you agree, are we going to be serious? Are we going to be funny? Is it going to be darkly comic?
Cool.
Whatever. And then by playing the cards, you reveal like a danger or threat that emerges in this world. And you use the icons to help define what that danger is.
Yeah.
Then, and this is what kind of makes Untold unique, only then do you create your characters.
Cool. So world building and...
So you create the characters in response to the danger that you face.
Oh, cool.
Then you get propelled into the story. In a traditional game with a GM, you ask the GM questions. We don't have a GM. So you kind of ask the story cubes. Okay. So you can ask questions and you roll the story cubes and you use them to generate the answers to the questions you're asking. Then you can take actions. And again, we have a unique mechanism where traditionally you'll roll the die and decide there's a 50% chance that it works.
Yep.
What we have is a set of reaction cards.
Cool.
So we'll hold them up here. And each one has a different face. Well, it has 2 colors at the moment, green and red, for success or failure.
Yep.
Then they have like modifications where you fail but or you succeed and it's even better. And then we have the facial expressions on the cards, which help you spin the story in a certain direction and add a bit more depth to the whole thing. So again, we kind of realized in designing the game, you just want to play a story that takes you to somewhere you didn't expect.
Yep.
And this, for us, was the simplest, most universal way we could convey your story heading in a different direction. And playtesters have loved this as a mechanism, especially for playing with children.
Yes. I'm thinking now this is one for me and the kids.
Yes. That's our target audience. It's a parent sitting down to play with their kids. So then once you face the initial danger, you deal with it.
Yep.
Then the plot always thickens.
Of course.
So you reveal some kind of like terrible secret or a dark ally, or some secret purpose that the original threat had.
Yep.
You learn a bit more about that. Then you have a confrontation where the heroes get directly involved in the story. They might re-encounter a previous threat, or you introduce a new one. Then you discover a terrible secret about this new threat. And it might be that they actually had an evil master or ally, or they were targeting or seeking something different all along.
Yep.
Again, and you define all this by rolling the story cubes. And you basically hurtle, and I truly mean that word, like once you've set up the danger, this thing just accelerates through the story.
Cool.
To the final showdown where you face not one but 2 threats who are both after you, for different reasons, and you have to deal with them before the show ends. So we tried to capture what I loved about like 80s TV shows, where the plot doesn't always make a whole lot of sense.
No.
But the journey is what makes it so fun and exciting and memorable. We wanted to create a game that captures kind of 3 things I love about role-playing games, but I don't get to play that often. So one is the world building.
Yep.
The other is the uncertainty of outcome and the ability to do whatever you want in the story and see what happens. And then the third thing is character development.
Cool.
So during the game, as you play multiple episodes, you get to add abilities to your character until they eventually kind of retire as heroes within that world.
The grand adventures they've gone on. Yeah, cool.
And it's been really fun. Like, we've tested it with kind of, we played a really serious story where it was a barista competition, and there were teams vying to win this competition, but it was a whole scandal that emerged in it, and there was like the Japanese team were being shamed, and it was because there was another team putting them up for it. So we tested it from that, and then we've had people playing it where it's a crime series set on the Death Star.
Excellent.
As well, and then we've had others playing it like an 80s cartoon where anything can happen.
Yeah.
So the game is a container for you to go on untold adventures.
Whatever adventures. Yeah, nice. I love the sound of that.
So yeah, I'm kind of really excited about it because it partly came from a desire for myself of wanting to get back into role-playing games, but as a parent with 3 children, not really having the time to do it.
I think I remember having a conversation with you about 2 toy fairs ago where I think we both lamented the lack of RPG in our life.
Yes, yes. So, well, this is me trying to deal with the problem. I worked with John Fiore, who's a designer. He's wrote a lot of game supplements.
Yep.
And he had written something for Rory Story Cubes called the 9 Qs that you could use with existing game supplements.
Okay.
So I said, that's great, but I want it even easier. And again, I came back to that idea of a family who have no experience of RPGs to have the same thrill.
Same thrill without all of the 25 source books and character stats and all the other stuff that terrifies people.
And one of the other things, I think, for storytelling, I think role players don't realize there's certain kind of unwritten rules that they all agree to, but people who don't have that experience don't know those rules.
Yeah.
So we've tried to kind of embody them in these cards. And they allow you to, one is to like add to the story.
Okay.
So if someone comes up with a great idea and you're inspired,
you're like,
you don't say, oh no, but you say yes and you add to the story.
Okay.
Or the other element is if you introduce something and you think you have a great idea for like a flashback to flesh out the story, you play the flashback card.
Cool.
And you expand the story world. Or sometimes when you're telling the story, you think it would be a perfect opportunity to reintroduce a villain from a previous episode.
Right.
But the icons aren't showing what you want.
So
you play the wild card and it allows you to turn one of the story cubes to any side to reflect that.
I'm bringing in... Yeah.
And then the last one is, we call it the redirect card. It might change, but essentially it serves a couple of purposes. One is when the tone of the story is veering off from what you all agreed on.
Right.
So I describe it as when I'm checking out of the game. I'm like, I didn't sign up for this. You play the redirect card, and it's a gentle way to say, look, we need to stop and kind of redirect the story in a way that we're all engaged.
Yeah, we've gone down the rabbit hole. We need to come back,
But the other was, and I saw this wonderfully when we were watching a family play, is the daughter, who was 7 years old, played this and said, my hero isn't really getting to do much in this. And they all stopped and went, okay. And so the next die roll and the next scene, they were able to set it up so that she had an opportunity to shine and re-engage with the story. So we're kind of, you could call it like my first RPG.
Yes. No, I mean, to a point, the story cubes always were a little bit that to me anyway, because I remember playing with some of them with the kids, is just allowing the story building. Just tell me your story and roll the dice. So this is just, as you say, this is taking it and just in that direction.
Yes, it gives you just enough structure.
I think the issue is, and it works really well, is with the board and the dice and all that, it kind of falls people into RPG. Whereas if you sit down and say, we're going to do an RPG, I get that blank, terrified look sometimes of like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But whereas I could see this could,
So we intentionally, like in a way, I kind of joke and say this should kind of annoy traditional role players.
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge fan of role-playing games, and I wanted to see more people get the benefits of
it.
Like, there'll be like a dedication in this to my friends who used to play role-playing games together. But the reality is, we're kind of hit a point where we're not really bringing in new audiences.
No.
And I don't think we've challenged the mechanisms of role-playing games enough. So what I'm trying to do is like flip the assumptions around some of the games that will obviously upset people who like role-playing games, but if it brings in a whole new audience, then I'm happy with that. I'm happy for them to do this and then go on and play role-playing games, because yes, they're meatier and they provide more rules and structure, but that's not necessarily what you need when you start.
No, early on you don't know what you're doing, do you?
Yeah.
So this is great, as you say. If they take this and then go on into whatever, oh, I want to adventure in the Dungeons and Dragons universe. Well, now you can.
Yes.
You can go and do this. You go do Star Wars, whatever.
Yeah.
But this is a really good jumping on point.
And I think a lot of role-playing games are set in kind of traditional settings. You can get your sci-fi, your horror, and it's hard to find like real-world crime stuff. I know like systems like Fate and everything provide great opportunities for it, but we wanted players to be able to tell a medical drama if they wanted. Which
I fascinating. I mean, this definitely something because I used to roleplay a lot, but my regular group, few of them just don't like it. We've tried a few games of all sorts of stuff, but it just doesn't work out. But something like this, I feel, would work.
Yeah.
Definitely with the kids. I know it would.
That's been our response. Is when people play with this, they're like, I'd always been put off by role-playing games, but now I can see the value of it.
Yes.
And why I'd want to go on and learn more.
No, it's fascinating. And
we're kind of really excited. We've like 6 days left on the Kickstarter. We've hit a number of stretch goals, and we've a really nice one coming up now.
Cool.
As well, which is great.
I'll do a bit of tweeting later on.
Yes.
No, I'm impressed, Rory. I mean, I've always loved the story cubes as what they do and what they were there to do, and that's fascinating and brilliant that it's doing it. And this is very exciting.
It's kind of like you've probably heard what's happening with story cubes. We're working with Asmodee now.
It's just like wow, story cubes in everywhere.
Well, I kind of felt like myself and Anita were a husband and wife team who've worked on this for over 10 years.
Yeah.
We kind of felt we had done what we wanted with story cubes, and we wanted it to reach a wider audience, and we weren't the best people to do that.
The problem is you go from being a games designer to a businessman, and that's not much fun.
I said I would have fired myself years ago. But this is kind of like our swan song.
Yeah.
It's a story cubes title. It's kind of powered by story cubes, but it's very much of us.
Yes.
Of the usability, the accessibility, the high level of design that goes into it.
No, it looks very cool, and I wish you well. Might be checking out the Kickstarter. And I look forward to seeing how it does. Essen's coming out as well, isn't it?
It'll be available to buy at Essen. Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah. So you've got 2 very good games for Essen.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Thanks for taking the time out, sir.
Thank you. Enjoy
and
the rest of the
I
expo.
do wish you well for this.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.